The Manson Family Murders were a shocking and gruesome series of events that took place in Los Angeles in August 1969. The crimes were committed by a group of people who were followers of Charles Manson, a cult leader who had created a unique philosophy known as Helter Skelter. According to Manson, Helter Skelter was a plan to incite a race war in the United States, which he believed was imminent. Manson claimed that the war would be a fight between African Americans and white people, and that the black people would ultimately win. Manson believed that his followers, who he referred to as his family, needed to take action to help bring about this race war. He convinced them that he was a prophet and that his philosophy was a necessary step towards a better world. As part of this belief, Manson and his followers carried out the murders in order to spark the race war. The victims were chosen randomly, and none of them had any connection to Manson or his followers. One of the most infamous murders was that of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time of her death. The Manson family murders shocked the world and garnered widespread media attention. The trial of Manson and his followers was highly publicized, and the case became a symbol of the dangers of cults and the influence of charismatic leaders. Manson was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death, but his sentence was later commuted to life in prison. Overall, the Manson family murders are a haunting reminder of the dangers of extreme beliefs and the influence of charismatic leaders. Manson was able to convince his followers to commit unthinkable crimes in the name of his twisted philosophy, and the consequences were devastating. The case serves as a cautionary tale about the power of persuasion and the need for critical thinking in the face of extreme ideologies. The Manson family targeted the victims because they believed that they were connected to the music industry and the establishment that Manson sought to overthrow. Manson's followers, who were mostly young women, carried out the murders with extreme violence and brutality. The victims were stabbed, beaten, and shot, and the crime scenes were marked with bizarre messages and symbols. The murders shocked the world and gained widespread media attention, with many people struggling to understand how Manson could have convinced his followers to commit such heinous acts. The trial of Manson and his followers became a media spectacle, with Manson often displaying erratic behavior and making bizarre statements in court. Despite the overwhelming evidence against them, Manson and his followers continued to deny their involvement in the murders. Manson himself claimed that he was not responsible for the crimes and that his followers had acted on their own. However, Manson was ultimately found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life in prison. The other members of the Manson family who were involved in the murders also received life sentences. The Manson family murders have had a lasting impact on American popular culture and remain one of the most infamous and shocking cases in the history of true crime. They have been the subject of numerous books, films, and television shows, and have inspired countless works of art and music. The case has also been studied and analyzed by criminologists and psychologists, who seek to understand the motivations and behaviors of both Manson and his followers. The Manson family murders were a watershed moment in the history of true crime, and continue to fascinate and horrify people today. The brutal nature of the murders and the bizarre motivations behind them have made the case a subject of endless fascination for true crime enthusiasts, criminologists, and pop culture aficionados alike. The fact that Manson was able to exert such a powerful influence over his followers, many of whom were young women, has been a source of fascination and concern for many. The case has become a cautionary tale about the dangers of cults and the power of charismatic leaders to manipulate and control vulnerable individuals. The Manson trial was also significant for its role in the evolution of the American criminal justice system. The media circus that surrounded the trial, and the way in which it captured the public imagination, helped to usher in a new era of media coverage of high-profile criminal trials. In the end, Manson was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. However, his sentence was later commuted to life in prison when the state of California abolished the death penalty in 1972. Manson died in prison in 2017, having spent more than 4 decades behind bars. Despite the passage of time, the Manson family murders remain a potent symbol of the dark side of human nature, and a stark reminder of the dangers of blindly following charismatic leaders down a path of violence and destruction. The Manson family murders have had a lasting impact on American popular culture. They have been the subject of numerous books, films, and television shows, and have been referenced in countless songs, artworks, and other forms of media. The case has also been studied and analyzed by criminologists and psychologists, who seek to understand the motivations and behaviors of both Manson and his followers. The Manson family murders were a shocking and brutal set of crimes committed by a group of followers led by Charles Manson, a charismatic cult leader who had developed a twisted philosophy called helter-skelter. The murders, including that of actress Sharon Tate, were highly publicized and garnered widespread media attention. The trial of Manson and his followers became a symbol of the dangers of cults and the influence of charismatic leaders. Even decades later, the case continues to captivate people around the world and serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of blind faith and the potential for individuals to be manipulated by those in positions of power.